We gotta have a conversation here. So I just had a showing with a buyer today. We saw a home that he was really excited about. We saw it online and it looked beautiful. It was pretty well priced based on a comp analysis that I've done. And so we went to see it together and everything went great up until the moment the buyer asked to see how the windows operated. He's an engineer, so he just kind of wanted to see, how the system was. And so the listing agent, it was listing agent accompanied, he proceeded to open one of the windows open just for it to fall again. So the window didn't hold open. We thought, okay, well, maybe that was just a one-off, and none of the windows held up, essentially. So we left, and I asked the buyer, well, what do you think? He's like,
look, this is an over $1 million home. You would expect the windows to work. It's just part of the functionality of the house, and if the windows don't work, what else doesn't work?
And so we scratched off that home from the list because, look, at the end of the day, buyers right now have a lot of different options out there. You could drive down a street and there may be a few homes on the market. And so if one of them has issues, doesn't show well, or perhaps it's overpriced, the buyer can say, no, I'll just go down the road and we'll check that one out because it's fine for me. They won't have those issues that, this particular home has. And so we scratched it off the list, and it's really, really unfortunate because if that hadn't been the case, this home would have been almost a perfect match. And so I decided to do this video today, kind of spur of the moment, because, I think sellers need to know that, look, it's not 2021 or 2022 anymore. Certainly there's some pockets in the United States where homes may still sell like hotcakes, but that's not the case in most parts in Florida. There's just way more homes on the market, especially in the summer now, not as much demand. And so sellers have to work it. They can't just expect somebody to fall in love with a house when it's not well taken care of. If a home is not a fixer-upper, you have to make sure that all essentials in that home are working. And so my number one recommendation for anybody that's actually about to list a home is to get an inspection done first. Get an inspection done and then clean up any little issues that the house has before you list it. And that'll do a few things. It'll give you confidence in terms of, it's much less likely that once this home goes pending, that a buyer's going to pull out because there's inspection issues because you've already taken care of it. But also it'll give you confidence in terms of pricing, knowing that you've invested some money in ensuring that all major elements are working correctly. When it comes to pricing, you're much better off in most cases. Of course, check with your agent and figure out if it's seller's market or if it's a buyer's market, but in many pockets across the United States, it's definitely tilting to be much more of a buyer's market, meaning that buyers are holding the keys right now, so to speak, no pun intended. They have options. If your home doesn't show nicely, if it's not well priced, they're not going to go for it because there's other options. They don't have to, fight over one house and outbid each other anymore like they did 3 years ago, because there's plenty of choices out there. And so if you're overpriced, what's more likely than not going to happen is that first, a lot of buyers are going to see it's overpriced, so they'll just make a detour around your home. You'll have less traffic, and then what's going to happen is you'll have to drop the price. And so if your home has been on the market for, say, 200 days or 250 days, and that's not uncommon, I see quite often, it'll give a buyer negotiation opportunities even if you drop the price dramatically, because they see how long it's been on the market. And so it really doesn't do you any favor. You're much better off pricing your home closer to fair value. Certainly you can leave some room for negotiation. Based on research, it's going to sell faster, and it's much more likely it's going to sell at a higher price versus you going the opposite tactic, pricing really high to see if anybody is going to bite and then having to come down. Now, if you have a home that's just one of a kind and there's absolutely no competition, then certainly you can price a little bit more aggressively. Know what you're dealing with and know what else is out there. That is very important, is to really be on top of the market. Your agent is going to help you with that, but you also should go to open houses and see what all the other options are out there. Now, because there's so much competition, you're going to want to make the best impression. As soon as a buyer parks their car and they're walking towards the house, you want to make sure everything looks very clean, maintain, make sure your lawn is mowed, make sure that you've done the weeding, and it's just very cheery up until they walk through the door, because that feeling of, oh, this looks really good, very well maintained, will carry through towards the entrance, as long as then the rest of the house kind of matches what you were going for outside. So that brings us to the inside. You want to make sure, first of all, the house is super clean. If it's a fixer-upper, yes, you'll have a little bit of leeway there. But if it's not one of those homes that is falling apart and is priced accordingly, the house has to be clean. Again, first impressions matter. And in the mind of a buyer, if a home is dirty, they're going to think, well, what else has not been maintained? This is an issue. Plus, some buyers just can't see past that. They may be neat freaks, or perhaps they don't have enough imagination to envision the home really clean. I forgot to mention something, so I'm stepping back in here after the fact, but I wanted to make sure that I talked about this, and that is, when we talk about cleaning a home, of course, I'm talking about surface level type of cleaning, but also go beyond that. Make sure that your drawers are clean, your oven, your microwaves are completely cleaned up, because you'd be surprised. A lot of buyers will look inside of drawers. They'll open up the microwave, the oven, to see if in fact the seller was somewhat of a clean freak, because the assumption is, if the seller is a clean freak, he or she is probably very particular, and with that did a great job maintaining the home as well. And how often did I walk into a home that looked beautiful on the surface until we did exactly that? We opened up the microwave and the oven, and it was just a disaster in there, and it can be a true turnoff for a buyer. That actually brings me to my next point, that is, with cleanliness also comes decluttering. You want to make sure that you've decluttered your home. Don't have anything personal in there, no pictures, nothing political, nothing religious, because you want the buyer, as soon as they're walking in, to be able to already envision themselves living there. And buyers will often do this, where they're starting to imagine where they're going to be placing their furniture. But if you have too much in that home, then it's really kind of hard to see beyond that. It may confuse them, and it may not allow them to really see the layout of the house, because there's just too much going on. So have kind of the bare minimum almost in your home. And the best way to determine what should stay in the house and what can go is to, first of all, get your agent's feedback, but also go to one of the new construction model homes, and you'll have a really good idea of kind of what works and how they're rearranging the homes to get the maximum appeal. I mean, this is what they do for a living, the designers for new construction homes. And there's a lot that you can learn from that. What decluttering and cleaning the house also does is make the home look bigger. And so if you have dark walls inside of the house, what you're going to want to do is repaint it. That's actually one of the best investments you can make in your home before you list it, is to repaint the inside of the house, especially a much lighter color. And a really popular color to go with is an off-white. The color I always recommend is Sherman-Williams Alabaster. It's a white, but there are some yellow tones in it. You can't really see it. It kind of looks like an off-white, and it just is very pleasing to the eye. That will do wonders in a house that otherwise may look a bit aged, or perhaps it is dark inside. The lighter the home is, the brighter it is. It'll make a huge difference. That's what buyers are looking for. In reality, what you really want as a seller is to make the buyer feel really good inside of that home, so that by the time they leave, they'll probably be seeing 5, 10, 15, 20 houses. But when they think back to your house, they feel good about what they've seen. They see the potential of themselves being able to live there. How a home smells is also important. If a home doesn't smell good, if it has some kind of an odor to it, maybe it smells like there's been mold growing, or perhaps no one's been opening up the sliders to get fresh air in, you gotta figure out how to remove that smell, because you don't want any friction to be inside of the house. What you want to do is make sure that your home smells really fresh. If you've gotten used to the way your home smells, ask a friend to come over and provide you feedback. But before any showing, regardless, make sure that you've had a chance to open up the windows, the sliders, let fresh air come in. If you're a smoker, don't smoke inside of the house anymore, and wash the walls. If buyers come in and they realize that someone living in the home was a smoker, most buyers won't even go there anymore. They'll turn around and they'll leave. That is one way of absolutely decreasing the value of your house. If you have pets such as cats and dogs, I mean, I'm a dog lover, I'm a cat lover also, but unfortunately there are some people out there who just don't like pets. And even if they do like pets, they do want that clean, fresh smell. And so try to figure out how to eliminate animal smell inside of your house. You could buy lemon scents, maybe burn a candle just to have the home smell just a little bit more like, almost like a luxury hotel. That's the smell I would go for. And then lastly, disclose if there's any issues with the house. You're supposed to anyways. If there's an issue that could materially affect the value of the house, disclose it, put it in the disclosure form. The last thing you want is for a buyer to come through. Let's just say they go under contract, and then during the inspection they find out that the roof leaked and the flooring is destroyed because of the roof leak, and it wasn't seen before because you had a plant hiding where the floor is now kind of peeling apart because of the leak. Disclose it up front. First of all, you're supposed to anyways, but also for a buyer, if you're disclosing certain issues, it drives trust. The buyer thinks of it as, oh, okay, the seller is being honest here. In today's market, it's so important that the seller put their best foot forward when it comes to preparing the home, because in today's market, buyers don't have a lot of patience anymore. If there's an issue with a potential home, they'll just move down to another house because, again, they have those options. You want to sell your home, prepare it accordingly. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was kind of a spur of the moment type of video, but I thought it was important to do, especially given my experience today. I wish you all a great weekend, a great day. Have a good one. Take care.